faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hi, this is Sally with Book Talks. Today's book for you is You Are Your Child's Best Toy. Ever had that moment when your kid throws a tantrum right in front of you and you feel totally helpless, wondering how to get them to listen? Sometimes when you're in a bad mood, you might end up yelling at them, but this doesn't soothe their emotions and just ruins your close bond. So, is there a parenting way that helps manage kids' feelings while keeping the relationship strong and happy? The book we're covering today teaches a method called emotional guidance education, helping you easily connect with your child's inner world and better guide them to recognize and manage their emotions. The author, Kimberly Breen, is an American child education expert and child psychotherapist. She's also a mom of two kids. He combined years of child education experience and parenting practice to propose emotional guidance education globally, giving struggling parents a glimmer of hope. So, what exactly is emotional guidance education as a parenting method, and what makes it unique? Next, I'll break it down into two parts. First, what is emotional guidance education? Why implement emotional guidance education? Second, how to apply emotional guidance education at different child age stages. Okay, let's dive into the first question. Why implement emotional guidance education? Before we get into emotional guidance education, let's reflect on some common misconceptions in traditional parenting. Misconception one, either controlling too much or not controlling at all. We call parents who over control controlling parents, and those who under control permissive parents. Starting with controlling parents, they believe kids must obey and parents call all the shots. They don't let kids express ideas or consider their feelings, just step in roughly. Because of this, kids may not grasp what parents want and won't learn from it. The parent child relationship slips into a cycle, making mistakes, punishment without understanding why, making mistakes again, and more punishment. A vicious cycle of punishment without understanding, repeating mistakes, and repeated punishment. Permissive parents go to the other extreme. They feel helpless about their children's behavior and simply give up disciplining them. As a result, whatever the child wants, they try to satisfy it without imposing any constraints on their behavior. Over time, children raised in permissive families often become undisciplined and lack a sense of rules. The second misconception in parenting is parents neglecting their children's feelings. Let's start with an example. XOU accidentally fell and hurt his leg badly, so he started crying loudly. Mom came over and said to Xiao Yu, "Be strong, little man. It doesn't hurt at all. Get up quickly. It's fine." Idio struggled to stand up, but his leg still hurt a lot. He didn't understand why mom insisted. It didn't hurt. Many parents do this. Their intention is good. They want the child to learn to be strong, but they overlook the child's real feelings, causing confusion instead. Should I trust my own feelings or trust mom's words? When children are in such an unvalued and misunderstood state for long, they may become lacking in empathy or too self-centered, unable to put themselves in others' shoes. Misconception three, overemphasizing external incentives, which are essentially rewards. This is a favorite educational method among parents and teachers. For example, kindergartens often set up honor boards where teachers stick a little red flower under a child's name for good behavior, or parents agree with their children to pay money for sweeping the floor once, cleaning the windows once, etc. The author believes rewards shouldn't be the basic strategy in education. Frequently using rewards to buy children's cooperation isn't good parenting, because in daily learning, work, and life, people need to follow rules constantly. Parents should teach children to complete tasks well, even without rewards. Mischief for negative punishment. What does that mean? Let's start with this example. 3-year-old Lily is playing intently with a toy train. when her 4-year-old brother, Hao Hao, runs over, snatches the train away, and Lily cries in distress. Mom hears Lily crying and immediately tells Ha Hao to return the train to his sister, but Ha Hao ignores her and runs off with the train. Mom walked over, snatched the train away, and scolded sternly, "Ah Ha Hao, stand in the corner for 5 minutes, no moving. Next time you grab your sister's toy, it'll be 10 minutes timeout." Although Hao Hao's mom quickly settled the toy dispute, she didn't help him learn to take responsibility for his actions. Because timeout is a negative, illogical form of punishment, Hao Hao might avoid grabbing his sister's toys out of fear of timeout, but it won't teach him consideration, sharing, or responsibility for his behavior. These are the 4 common parenting pitfalls: swinging between control and permissiveness, imposing feelings on children, or using rewards or punishments for obedience. These pitfalls only address the surface level symptoms of disobedience without solving the root cause, failing to understand the motives and psychology behind children's behavior. Seeing these flaws in traditional education, the author proposed a new method: emotional guidance education. Emotional guidance education means parents teach emotional rules, helping children recognize feelings, express themselves, and develop social skills. This concept might sound abstract. Let me give you another example. Xiaopeng grew up in a family full of understanding and tolerance, where his parents practiced emotional guidance education since childhood. So at just 4 years old, Xiaopeng already has excellent social skills and greater emotional maturity than his peers. Once, when Xiaopeng's mom took him to the park, he played soccer on the lawn with other kids, having a wonderful time. Suddenly, a toddler girl wandered into their playing area. A boy running with the ball accidentally knocked the girl down. Terrified, she lay on the ground wailing. Hearing the cries, the girl's mom rushed over. The offending boy saw trouble and bolted, with other kids following. But Xiaopeng stayed right where he was. Xiaopeng approached the girl's mom and said, "Auntie, I'm sorry. My friend shouldn't have done that. He should have been more careful." The girl's mom later told Xiaoping's mother, "I've never seen a child so considerate. He even apologized on behalf of the other kids." Your parenting approach is incredibly successful. Children raised with emotional guidance education deeply understand others' feelings because they themselves grow up in an environment of acceptance and understanding. Parents consistently teach them emotional rules, guiding them to understand their current emotions. Gradually, children learn not only to recognize, express, and regulate their own emotions, but also to understand and accept others' feelings. Emotional guidance education also enhances children's communication skills. Parental encouragement helps children express their true feelings verbally instead of through tantrums or crying. Not only that, but emotional guidance education helps children overcome negative emotions. Emotional guidance teaches patience, showing that happiness isn't easily gained, while boosting impulse control to prevent irrational actions during emotional lows. All right, that covers the first part. First, we discussed 4 parenting pitfalls: over-controlling or under-controlling, ignoring children's feelings, overemphasizing rewards, and negative punishment, all failing to help parents guide children effectively. Nationary hopeful guidance education advocates that parents observe to uncover behavior motives, then use thoughtful interaction to nurture empathetic, expressive, and self-regulated children. The key to emotional guidance is parent-child closeness, the foundation for all interactions. But strong parent-child bonds aren't innate, they develop gradually during childhood. The author divides childhood into 3 stages: infancy, ages 2 to 3, and ages 4 to 7. Now, let's address today's second question. How can you implement emotional guidance at different ages to strengthen your bond with your child? Um, let's start with infancy. from birth to age 2, the preparatory phase for emotional guidance. The key here is ensuring the child gains sufficient security. An infant's brain is still developing. Therefore, external environments significantly impact brain development. If children grow up with minimal interaction, they'll struggle to learn social skills. On the contrary, if they live in an environment full of love and care, they will develop loving and kind personalities. So, how can we create a loving environment for babies? First, in the first few months after birth, parents should care for the baby wholeheartedly and not be afraid of spoiling the baby. Because babies under 6 months old cannot control their behavior and are almost entirely dependent on their parents. At this stage, what children need is not toys or cartoons, but attentive care from their parents. For example, parents can engage in sensory play with their children, including physical contact and sensory experiences. Care mainly includes hugging, rocking, kissing, singing, bathing, breastfeeding, and eye contact, among others. In these interactions with parents, children observe their expressions, imitate their actions, and respond to their voices. At this time, parents are the child's best toy. Research shows that babies who are frequently hugged and caressed by their parents cry less, feel more secure, and are more independent. And as children grow older, getting a good night's sleep is crucial for their development. Many parents worry because their children don't sleep well. The author believes that a consistent bedtime routine can have a soothing effect on children, helping them fall asleep easily. For example, each night, first wash the child's hands and face, then change their diaper and pajamas, followed by playing with them for a while to burn off extra energy, but don't let them get too excited. Um, Finally, every night before bed, say a fixed farewell phrase. For example, good night, baby. See you in the morning. A consistent bedtime routine not only helps children develop healthy habits, but also lets them know what to expect, feeling relaxed and secure. As children get older, when mom has to leave home to return to work, separation anxiety becomes a new challenge. Generally, between 1 and 1.5 years old is when separation anxiety is most severe because at this stage, children have just entered toddlerhood, realizing they are separate individuals from their parents and gradually understanding what separation means. The need for security makes children unwilling to separate from their parents, leading to anxious emotions and crying behavior. Emotional guidance education does not advocate parents sneaking away. Instead, positively guide children to understand separation, such as giving them a comfort toy to distract them. For example, when mom is leaving for work, the child clings to her leg and won't let go, not even listening to grandma's coaxing. At this point, mom can use emotional guidance. Find the child's favorite teddy bear, explain mom will go to work and return around 7 p.m., then give the bear to grandma to redirect the child's attention. Finally, formally say goodbye to the child and leave cheerfully. If parents always avoid the child's needs and sneak away, the child will fear sudden disappearances, worsening separation anxiety. So, tell your child and remind yourself that separation is a normal, universal experience. This is key to overcoming separation anxiety. Suddenly, children grow up. Ages 2 to 3 are crucial for building closeness and mark the formal start of emotional guidance. 1-year-olds can't express thoughts verbally yet. Parents typically distract them to manage emotions. But 2 to 3-year-olds have basic language skills and can voice their thoughts. Now, parents can implement emotional guidance through specific steps. The author outlines 5 key steps for emotional guidance implementation. Step 1, set clear expectations in advance. For example, if taking your child to dinner out, tell him that morning about the plan and explain he shouldn't run around or shout in the restaurant. Setting expectations early improves cooperation. Step 2, Observe and interpret your child's behavior. Here, notice when your child is most prone to tantrums and what triggers his frustration. Step 3, listen attentively. This is crucial for emotional guidance. Some parents claim to listen, but with divided attention, half engaged while multitasking, never truly hearing what's said. Step 4, recognize and understand your child's feelings. When children are emotional, parents must acknowledge and respond to their feelings. This is the prime moment for guidance. For example, if your child has a conflict while playing with others in a restaurant and comes to you crying, at this point, parents should acknowledge and accept his emotions, saying to the child, I know you're angry. Do you need dad's help? Through parental guidance, the child learns a new emotional vocabulary word, anger, understanding that their current inner feeling is called anger. Only by understanding children's feelings can we better help them. Step 5, show empathy toward your child. Here, empathy doesn't mean pity, but genuine respect from the heart. Truly put yourself in your child's shoes, help them think and find solutions to problems. Now, let's see emotional guidance in action through a real case study. Lily's daughter, Xuan Xuan, is in a rebellious phase, responding to every parental request with, no, I won't, especially resisting baths. So Lily implemented the 5 emotional guidance steps. First, during dinner, she reminded Xuan Xuan, after dinner, you'll have your bath, by telling Xuan Xuan in advance. Lily let her know what to expect, preventing strong resistance to sudden demands. After dinner, Lily didn't rush Swan Swan to the bath, but carried out step 2, observe and assess. She noticed Xuan Xuan happily playing with her Barbie. Bringing up bath time directly would trigger resistance. So Lily initiated conversation. I know you're having fun playing and don't want to bathe. I wouldn't either. But we can't go to sleep dirty. Xuan Xuan, what do you think we should do? Xuan Xuan said, I don't know. I'm playing with Barbie. No bath. Lily suggested, Barbie can come bathe with us. Xuan Xuan replied, no, Mommy. Barbie's happy in her house. She doesn't want to watch me bathe. Lily said, I see Barbie likes her house, but where's her bathtub? How come I don't see it? Xuan Xuan answered, Barbie has no bathtub. If I have to bathe, she has to bathe too. Lily offered, maybe we can make her a bathtub. Let's put Barbie in a cup like you're in the tub, okay? Xuan Xuan happily headed to the bathroom, saying, okay, I'll get a cup. When Xuan Xuan refused to bathe, Lily first observed her behavior, listened carefully to her thoughts, understood her feelings, and showed sympathy for her reluctance. Finally, by helping her devise the solution of bathing with Barbie, Xuan Xuan naturally cooperated obediently. But a new problem arises. Mechanically following the 5 emotional guidance steps doesn't always yield good results because the steps are fixed, but each child's personality is different. So beyond the steps discussed, we need to understand important considerations in emotional guidance. First, set boundaries for children. 2 to 3-year-olds have emerging self-awareness but remain immature. They're often self-centered and unclear about acceptable behavior. Emotional guidance, education, advocates, setting appropriate limits, clearly defining what's allowed and what's not. Second, grant children appropriate decision-making power. Research shows that sharing decision-making authority helps children feel valued, making them more cooperative. Moreover, regular participation in family decisions fosters independence and confidence. Third, emotional guidance in public spaces. Sometimes children's emotions fluctuate more intensely in public settings. For example, a child throwing a supermarket tantrum for toys, drawing crowds. Instead of scolding or hitting out of embarrassment, take the child to a private area, listen fully, explain mistakes, and discuss solutions. After the critical guidance period of ages 2 to 3, children enter the 4 to 7 phase. This stage consolidates close relationships, but presents new emotional guidance challenges because As children grow, they engage more deeply with our complex world. They encounter social issues in kindergartens, playgrounds, etc., requiring parents to adapt emotional guidance to different situations. For example, children often complain about situations exhibiting pessimism. For example, Miming just started elementary school. Every night while doing homework, he either asks for water or blows his nose. When encountering difficult problems, he asks parents for solutions. They explain a bit, he writes a bit, never thinking independently, often dragging work past midnight while complaining the homework is too hard, too much, impossible to finish. Complaining is common in 4 to 7 year olds, triggered by hunger, fatigue, frustration, or loneliness. To reduce complaints, identify patterns and try these tips. First, have children speak in normal tones. Second, once their tone normalizes, understand their emotions and needs. For instance, ask, "Did the teacher speak too fast in class? Did you not understand?" When complaining recurs, remind them to express properly, but avoid excessive praise. Another example, domineering children often feel unheard, becoming forceful and inconsiderate. At the playground, Xiaoya monopolized the slide entrance, blocking others while shouting, "Tur, parents, and she could play here. You can only play in the ball pit," as she pushed children away. In such cases, parents must address domineering behavior immediately. First, guide them to speak kindly. Remind them harsh attitudes hurt feelings. Second, encourage appropriate expression and seeking adult help when needed. Third, know your child's friends and their personalities to prevent clashes. Finally, offer empathy and guidance during peer conflicts. If domineering, hear their thoughts while explaining how forcefulness pushes friends away. For overly shy children who feel nervous and insecure in public, don't force them to socialize or be outgoing. Instead, use role play to simulate social scenarios, preparing them for strangers. Additionally, children may experience anxiety. Major external pressures or life changes can trigger anxious feelings. For example, failing a test, moving houses, transferring schools, or even a pet's death could cause prolonged distress. Parents should first permit anxious emotions and allow children to cry. Help children understand anxiety is normal, even adults experience it. Then use active listening to ease worries, encouraging expression through words or art. Finally, you might discover your child lying. First-time encounters can be shocking, making you wonder where they learned it. But there's no need for panic. Preschoolers lying or fabricating stories is common. They're immersed in fantasy worlds and can't clearly distinguish right from wrong. Address lying by explaining reality versus fantasy, clearly defining truth or falsehoods, and emphasizing honesty everywhere. And lastly, show alternatives to lying, like seeking adult help. All right, that concludes this section. Our second question, how to implement emotional guidance education at different ages. In infancy, parents create safe, comfortable environments to build foundational bonds, preparing for emotional guidance. Ages 2 to 3 begin emotional guidance to develop and sustain parent-child closeness. Ages 4 to 7 tailor guidance to specific issues, continually strengthening bonds. We're nearing the end. Let's summarize briefly. Emotional guidance education requires parents to move beyond traditional pitfalls, grasp its essence, offer age-appropriate support, guide emotional awareness, and empower children to solve problems with parental help. People often say, parenting is about parenting yourself. Put yourself in their shoes. If we were kids, we'd want a nurturing home full of care and guidance and a close-knit bond with our parents. So why not try emotional guidance education? Adapt it to your life, refine your parenting approach, be both your child's best playmate and their guiding light. All right, you are your child's best toy. That concludes our interpretation of this book. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.